If you have ever wondered what the right kind of shoe for you is, you are in the right spot. Today I'm going to break down what the kind of shoes are that are out there, tell you a little bit about some characteristics of the shoe that might make it better or worse for you, and I'm going to tell you how you should decide which shoe is best for you. My name is Joe Sheriak. I manage a local running store. I do a lot of content here on YouTube, and I review a lot of shoes out there. And this is a live stream that I go through. I run it as a video first, kind of, so anybody out there can get some value from it. Then I open it up to Q&As for any sort of running or walking or activity related topics. So whether it's you're running a half marathon for the first time and you don't know why something's bugging you in your training, or you're getting out and walk jogging, or you have questions about strength and conditioning, I've got a big background in that as well. So with that said, we are going to hop right into the shoes, and we're going to start with the kind of broad categories that exist out there. I think that's a really good spot to be starting from, in that a shoe like this is going to be very different than a shoe like, let's say, this that has a carbon plate in it. So I'm going to walk us through really the general ideas. So the first one is going to be your barefoot style shoe or zero drop kind of shoe. This is a very old and well-loved Ultra Escalante. It is not quite a barefoot shoe in that this does have a little bit of cushion to it, but it's as close as you can get without really being in the barefoot world. So these shoes, some characteristics, usually very durable, or very pliable rather. Not a whole lot to them. Usually a pretty wide toe box up here, and those are all going to be things that let your foot move in a pretty natural way, which is excellent. We like that. We want our foot to be able to move well, but we don't and necessarily always want to run in something exactly like that. So that's the first category, your barefoot shoes. That would be like Lems or Astral or Vivo Barefoot, or Vibram has their 5-finger toes, even something up to like an Ultra Escalante. Carl, thank you for the love on the Super Blast video. I very much enjoyed that. One of the best shoes out for sure, in my opinion. So going from barefoot, which is going to be low cushion, low heel to toe drop, low pretty much everything other than flexibility, which is going to be very high. We'll move along to our other segment that some folks are going to get into, but many will not. That's going to be our trail shoes. So I've got two examples right here for us. This is a Keen Seek, and this is a La Sportiva Prodigio Pro. They are pretty like standard. Well, this is a little more cushy, a little more racy than normal, but both pretty standard trail shoes, excuse me. So we get these nice lugs on the bottom that are going to go into the trail better than like a standard shoe that doesn't have a lot on it like this. And that's just going to give us more traction as we're running around, which is exactly what we're looking for. So trail shoes are going to tend to be more firm. They're going to have the lugs on the bottom. They're usually a lower heel to toe drop, and that's something I'm going to get into here in just a little bit. But you'll tend to see a little bit wider toe box because you know your foot's going to swell and splay out. So actually, right here, you can see this is a pretty accommodating toe box here. And that's a really good thing. That means your foot has room if you're on the trails for a really long time. Trail runs tend to be pretty long. Like, you can have ultra marathons that are on the trails that are going hundreds of miles. And that's where it can work well. That said, you can also just have a trail running shoe instead of a trail boot. So if you don't like a boot coming up really high, you can have a trail runner that you can use for some running on the trails. You can use for hiking, And I have multiple pairs, and I'll use some more for hiking than I do for running, and some more for running than hiking. So that's always a spot. And then there was this kind of interesting gap in the market where you had your trail shoes that were really chunky here on the bottom, but the road shoes would be too little. But if you wanted to do something like some gravel running, they created this segment. This is a road to trail shoe. And what's unique here is they took basically a road shoe, and this is a whole segment. There are multiple different brands that are doing this now. So this is effectively the Salomon Aeroglide 3, but this is the Aeroglide Gravel, meaning they put some extra lugs on the bottom. It's just not quite as aggressive as something like the Keen. So you can see the lugs here on the Keen shoe are more aggressive than on the Aeroglide Gravel. So that's going to be more your like traditional road shoe that just has more grip. So it's not going to be as beefy maybe on the bottom as you would see on a true trail shoe, but that means you get more versatility. I run on the road all the time in that gravel shoe, but I know if I'm going a little bit off of the beaten path, I have some extra grip, and you can actually do a little bit of trails in it for real. I've done some trail runs before in the Aeroglide Gravel, and it usually holds up pretty well. Going to the next category of shoes, we have our stability shoes, and it's actually kind of funny. I do not own any stability shoes because I don't need them, and that's another thing I'm going to get into in telling you how it will be helpful for you. So the closest thing I ever really get to with a stability shoe is having an insert in a shoe. So I'll tell you how they are similar. A stability shoe will normally have some sort of posting through the inside of the foot. So this is the inside of the foot here. There's usually something either more dense through here, or there are some guide rail systems that come up a little bit higher. And what that does is if you're somebody who tends to overpronate or lean inwards as you walk, which that's a very normal thing, some people just do it more than others. So if you're leaning in too much, you can kind of like collapse the shoe down and wear the inside of the shoe. Sometimes people's shoes will be worn all the way through the middle here. That's not exactly what we want to have happen. So the stability shoes are going to help accommodate for that. They're going to offer more support on the inside of the foot. What you can do with an insert, and there are usually only two times that I like using an insert. One is going to be if you have some like plantar fasciitis on the bottom of your foot, like if the bottom of your foot hurts and it feels like it's just wanting a little more support, you can do something like this that has a little plate in here that's going to take some of the mechanical load off of the foot and offer support that way, just like a stability shoe would on the inside of the foot. The other time I like them is when you have a shoe, call it like this, the Nike Vomero 18, and you really like the way it feels, but you don't feel like you're getting enough support out of it. You can throw an insert into a neutral shoe and get some more characteristics of a stability shoe. So that's brilliant. Like the idea of having an insert, Carl? Yeah, I think it can be really beneficial. I've got two pairs of inserts, and I just kind of rotate them around. You don't have to have a pair of inserts for every single shoe you have. It's kind of convenient to have more that you can place in different spots, but I'm really not like overly worried about it. I'll just take it out of that shoe and put it into another one whenever I need to. And I don't always feel the need to have it in there. It's usually just when my foot's aching a little more as somebody who does not overpronate. And the last category of shoes are neutral shoes. So that's going to be like everything you're seeing here and here down to the gravel shoe. They are all going to be designed to just roll through the middle of the shoe. So this right here is expecting that I'm going to have a pretty standard wear pattern. So when we run, we all hit on the outside of our foot, then roll to the middle to some degree. Once you roll to the middle there, almost everybody is going to toe off through their big toe. Most shoes are designed that way because they aren't trying to do anything different to your foot. Most people do not need a stability shoe. And like, I don't think they're good or bad. Stability shoes are just a little different. That is kind of all. So those are the categories of shoes. Inside of each category, you're going to have your like daily trainers. So something like the Vomero 18. You're going to have something with a little lower stack height. So stack height is how much cushion there is underfoot. This has more stack height than this. So that's partially why this is heavier and more protective, and this is lighter and wants to go faster. Then Then you'll have your super trainer category, and you can have a plate or no plate in it. So the Asics, they're tied together. Asics Mega Blast is very lightweight and very high stack height here, but there's no like carbon plate, there's no nylon plate, as opposed to the Brooks Hyperion Max, which does have a nylon, a plastic plate that runs through the whole thing, and that's different than the Nike Zoom Fly, which has a carbon plate throughout it. So just different ways you can make a really high stack shoe help you in your run. So this is usually for a workout kind of day where you don't need your maximal speed. I think that can be really beneficial. I use them on workout days where I either feel really bad and want help recovering, or if I want to go fast without wearing a racing shoe. And a racing shoe would be something like this, or the Saucony Endorphin Pro. This is the Hoka Cielo 1X 2.0. So this is the previous version. So they do everything they can to save weight. So big cutout right here. There's a carbon fiber plate that runs through the whole thing. It's as lightweight as it can get. The whole goal with this is we don't care about protection on race day. We just want to go as fast as possible. And my hot take on it is most people don't need racing shoes. Honestly, I think a pretty lightweight shoe that still feels good and offers some protection can be really good. So, not to say you should race in this, but the Mount to Coast R1 is very lightweight. It has some pretty good arch support through the middle. It has a pretty wide base, a good forefoot here, and it is really lightweight. So I love this shoe. I don't know how much it would change going from a Mount to Coast R1 to a like carbon plated shoe like that, especially if you're not an elite runner, which frankly most of us aren't. It might be a minute maybe, and I think that idea is pretty important to understand, because you have your really lightweight shoes that are relatively protective, or you can have something that's not really protective at all, that its whole goal is max out speed, whereas your training can just be a little better. You can be a little more consistent and just find the results that you want to find. So those are all the categories of shoes that I think give you an idea of what you might want to look at to start. And I will actually run through characteristics real quick. So this is just like the first shoe I pulled. A couple of things that I look at is the stack height of the shoe, how much cushion there is in the back of the heel, what the difference is from the back of the heel to the forefoot. That's called the heel to toe drop. So this has a 4 millimeter drop. So this is 36 back here and 32 up here, millimeters of foam. Stack height is kind of relevant. It tells you how much cushioning there is underfoot. The heel to toe drop tells you how much stress is going to be placed on your calf and your Achilles versus like your quads and glutes, kind of more so. Whereas where the lower it is, the more stress goes to your calf and Achilles versus something higher heel to toe drop that's going to take some of the stress off the calf and Achilles and place it more like higher up the chain. You can look at toe box, you can look at the grip on the bottom, but those are just some primary characteristics. Now, for you out there, how do you decide the best shoe for you? I think having a clear idea of what you want out of the shoe. So I manage a running store. I have a lot of people come in that ask for 1,000 things in one. And when that happens, I usually lean towards a gravel shoe. So like the Salomon Aero Glide, the Topo Ultra Venture, what else? The Hoka Challenger. Those are all some shoes that are going to have a lot of characteristics that can do a lot of different things. But if you know you want a daily training shoe, you don't need something with a carbon plate in it. You don't need something that's super itty bitty minimal, where I think that minimal can be nice to supplement in maybe once a week, or maybe even less than that, maybe just for lifestyle. I wear minimal shoes more in my life than I do when I run. Just to say, like, going in and saying, I want a daily trainer, you're looking for something like the Vomera that I threw over there, or like a On Cloud Surfer 2. This is not going to do anything fancy. This is just a really standard shoe that's going to let you do your daily and weekly miles. Separately, if you want something that is really stacked up and cushy, you can look for a really high cushion shoe. I wish I had the Super Blast. I should grab it before the stream is over, but the Mega Blast would be a good example too. You've got this huge stack of foam that's made to take force away from the body. You can have something where you go in and you want to try on a bunch of super shoes, where you're trying on race day stuff and seeing what feels most stable to you. So if you do wear something like that on race day, you're going in with the best idea of what's going to work well for you. So the real answer of how do you choose the right kind of shoe, try a bunch on and have a clear idea of what you want the shoe to do. They're all tools. I don't think there's like a best shoe or a this shoe is good or bad. I think it just comes down to what works well for what you need it to do. All just tools. So, with that said, I'm going to open this up for questions. I don't know if more folks have hopped into the stream since we got started, but wow, we're 17 minutes in already. Fantastic. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, I would love to be able to answer anything you got on your running, anything that you're working on, any questions you have running related. The chat's open. I make sure I go through and answer all the questions. I'm going to go ahead and grab a sip of coffee while I give you guys some time to type there in the chat. Also, if you can give me a thumbs up if the audio sounds better to you guys as well. I know Ashley said the audio sounds good, but would love to hear if that's true for everybody in the chat here. I'm going to see if I can recruit some people into the chat as well. Cool. I at least sent one message out to see who can pop into the chat, maybe ask a question or two. So what running shoe questions, what running in general questions, strength training questions do you have? Would love to be able to answer anything for you. As a beginner runner, should I focus on mileage or fast pace? Great question. So I think I have a controversial take on this. I think you should do what is fun and manageable. So It depends on what your goal is. But when I look at running in general, I want to see over a long period of time that we are slowly building the habit and slowly getting more fit and looking at this across a long time horizon. For you, as a beginner, I like the idea of getting aerobically fit. So just doing really easy running or walk jogging, depending on where you're at, what you're doing. But gaining that base and making sure all the physical structures, so your feet, shins, knees, all the connective tissue that hold that system together, all the muscles are having time to get faster. So I talk about tissue adaptation a lot. Your easy running is going to be a way you can add that in and get your body used to it without being like overly aggressive on what's coming into your body force-wise. So when you run faster, there's more force you have to absorb. But I think we're pretty intuitive creatures, like kids. They run hard and then they get tired and they stop. I think if you enjoy running faster and you want to do little spurts of some faster running, I think it's a great stimulus for the body. It's going to spike your heart rate. You get adaptations from doing that. You just don't want to stay super high for all of your runs. So for me, I do a lot of my running at really easy paces, and I do some of my running at faster paces. Yeah, Philip, I agree. I think adding in, like if you have fun with the faster paces, I think it's nice to give yourself the opportunity to play a little bit, if you will. But yes, by and large, you want to build the aerobic system, you want to build the structural adaptation that allows you to do this over a long period of time. That means lifting as well is always welcomed. It's going to help your body fight fatigue as you get tired through your races or through your runs, even if you aren't doing any races. Pace will come. I think it's always easier to have speed than to try and build it back. So my background sprinting, you know, I could run pretty dang fast. It's not something I've touched on as much and realized doing some of these shoe review videos where I'm doing strides, I'm like, man, I should really keep touching on that so I don't lose it. So a little bit of fast-paced running, totally cool. I think it's fun. I enjoy doing it for myself. It's just a fraction of the whole, if that kind of makes sense. If you have any follow-up questions or if anything jumped out at you that was a little nugget, I'm happy to expand more on it. So yeah, let me know. What do you guys do? What's your running look like? What do you enjoy about it? Where are you at in your journey? Are you doing any races coming up? What's your mileage look like? All those are fun questions to drop in here, and then we can chat about it a little more. More coffee, always good. Are you guys coffee drinkers? Do you enjoy coffee? Are you into caffeine? Are you just into herbal tea? Hey, happy Saturday, James. Good to see you. Happy to have you in. How's your training going, actually? I know you're still plugging away at your fitness goals with your half marathon coming up. I saw you were getting a little bit of a longer run building up there. Would love to chat about your stuff. Also, if you guys have running questions or shoe questions, since that was kind of the early topic for the day, would love to answer anything that you guys have right now on that front. Oh, also, this is super cool. So I hit my 1,000 subscribers, and I have 3,000 accumulated watch hours from YouTube, from everybody who's watched all my videos over the past year, which is super exciting. That means I'm going to be able to put the Ontos stuff into videos soon. So if you ever, if you haven't had the chance to take a look, I should be able to attach my Ontos running brand into the video so you can look at the store if you ever want to. James, training for the half marathon is good. We actually switched from Garmin. Ooh, what did we switch to? I'm incredibly interested. Says, I have heard somewhere that you may need to push the pace in order to have better endurance at the slower pace. Thoughts? Okay, so that's probably maybe a little bit of a misattribution. So again, if anybody hasn't heard my spiel before, I got my degree in exercise science. I've done track I did it for almost 20 years, and now I do the more distance side of things, as well as managing the running store. So this is a lot of what I love talking about, and I like studying it. So what you're talking about there is speed reserve. If you can run a mile in 4 minutes and 30 seconds, it's going to be relatively easy to just clip off 6-minute miles. Or you can say it another way with different times. If you can run an 8-minute mile, it makes clipping off 10-minute miles pretty easy. So that is your speed reserve. The faster you can run at and this is almost even to a maximal degree, like if you're a 100-meter sprinter, that's really fast, you're going to be better at your 400 time or your 800 time. Like that's what I did. I did the decathlon, so I had a really fast 100-meter time, and it helped me with my 400 and my 1500-meter runs in the decathlon. So to the extent that we are getting more fit as general adults being humans, I think it's much more to the point of building our aerobic base, building our ability to produce energy that we need to do the activity is going to be much more relevant than our ability to have a maximal pace. So right now, I imagine your all-out speed is not the limiter for your endurance paces. If your max speed was a 7-minute mile and you were trying to run 7:30 miles forever, that'd be really hard, right? Because you were so close up against this line. But if your all-out pace was, I don't know, for 400 meters, if it was 6-minute mile pace or 8-minute mile pace, that's pretty far removed from what we would consider easy paces. So the speed isn't necessarily a limiter. Now, going fast does do things. It helps us get more efficient at, if this is easy pace, if we're over here and we get more efficient running fast, it's going to make us more efficient running easier as well. So there are trade-offs. There are things that going fast does to help our easy running, but not like a dramatic thing. It usually ends up being, our limiter is more a question of, can we produce enough energy aerobically that our bodies don't overly fatigue? That's kind of the way I look at that. If you have follow-up questions, let me know. James ended up swapping to Endorphins app. I think this is actually going to work well. I like the layout and plan they have so far. Awesome. I think I've seen the Endorphins app before. I'm not super familiar with them, but maybe it was you that told me about them. But I'm really curious how you're liking it. Went to a few pop-up shops for them, including the New York Marathon ones. They seem to have a good team and coaches if you have questions, etc., and community. So well worth it. Yes. I remember you saying the Garmin plan was kind of so-so because it only pushed you up so far for your full, for your full marathon training. It was like you didn't quite get all the way up to the distances you maybe would have wanted to. What do you think the big tangible changes are from your Garmin app that was making your program to the Endorphins app? So I don't think I've gone through and like actually looked through everything. So maybe you can add some ideas here in the chat for what you're liking about it, why you changed. Is there any subscription cost? Is there any personalization for it? And then tell me a little bit about the community. That seems pretty interesting to me. Carl says, I'm looking for a new watch. My Garmin is getting old. What watches should I look at? I want one mainly for running and trail running that also works for triathlon. Oh, man, you are in luck, Carl. There are a ton of options out there that do this. So I don't know which watch you have at the moment, but most of the current watches are going to do that really well. If you're looking for the best value, I think the Coros Pace 3, which is on sale now because the Coros Pace 4 came out. The Pace 3 is like $199, at least here in the US, and it does so much. It's what my wife Ashley has. Actually, I had it. She wanted to upgrade her really old Garmin, so I gave her the Pace 3 that I had, and I had no problems with it. And then I upgraded because, I don't know, I'm kind of a nerd. So it'll do triathlon, it'll do strength, it'll do trail running, it'll do hiking, it'll do walking, swimming, biking, and it gives you a bunch of different categories. So you can do like mountain bike or gravel bike, or I know that there are other segments of biking in there. You can do multi-sport, you can do open cardio. I think Coros is really good with their training plans as well. Big thumbs up to Coros. I like them a lot. I upgraded to the Coros Pace Pro just because I could through the store. Like that was something I was really happy to be able to do. The battery life on them is also incredible. If you wanted to stay in the Garmin ecosystem, you got two pretty good options. You could do the Instinct 3, the Garmin Instinct 3 that can do the solar charging, and it's a little more rugged and outdoorsy. I believe it has the triathlon side of things. Or you can do like a Garmin 165. That would be probably the least expensive option right now that I can think of that's going to do all that. It has like the new AMOLED display. It does a lot of your sleep tracking, stuff like that. So thumbs up on either of those options. The Garmin 165, I want to say, is $250 if you don't need the music with it. You have the Garmin Instinct 1 right now. So I think the Instinct 3 has, oh my goodness, how fun. I think the Garmin Instinct 3 has the triathlon mode. If it does, I would say that might be a nice way to go. Or you could maybe get the Garmin Instinct 2 on sale. James, Endorphin does cost. If you live near a decent sized city, it helps because they have community and events or run clubs that are actually available coaches to reach out to and chat with. That's really interesting. They also have a lot of challenges and giveaways each month that are sponsored for chances to win stuff, but the downside so far is that I had to manually create all speeds. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't have a clue about the fireworks, but it seemed like a good time. I do not have any idea. Tell me more about the downside that you had to create manual speeds. That's really interesting to me. I'm curious, like, was it asking you to make the zones yourself? Curious on that front. Because, like, if you had to do the zones, that would irk me a little bit. You could use your Garmin to check the zones, but yeah, I'm not sure. That's a little bit interesting to me. I'm going to just check, make sure I'm not missing anything from anyone. I think I've addressed everything so far. Garrett, who is normally in the chat, is at work today, so that's unfortunate, but it sounded like his training was going well. Fell off a little bit, but I think that's almost normal. It's like you're going to have sections of your training that don't go to plan. Life gets hard. But he missed like a run or missed one, and like one wasn't feeling as good, so he cut it a little bit early. talked to him about it. It was like, got it. Yeah, life is really hard sometimes, but he has gone a whole week, I think, with hitting each one of his workouts. So back on track. I think that's a really human thing to have happen, especially as you're going into your as you're going into a training block. Like, you want to have your base nice and set, and as much as you can throughout your training block, you want it to stay consistent and good. But it's going to be tough sometimes. So the more you stay on track, the better. But if you fall off, don't let that completely derail your training. I think that's something that you'll learn over time, is staying in the right direction, trending the right way is going to be really important. So yeah, we'll have Garrett hopefully in next week. But Endorphins imported my Garmin data, including my mile time, and it said my easy pace was my mile time? How weird. Wouldn't import recent actual easy pace compared to heart rate. That's super weird, James. I wonder why that is. So you were like, what the heck? So much data. Why do I have to figure this all out? Set my goal time and distance to give me workouts based on that, but it did a bad job at the start. Interesting. So bad job at the start, but good enough overall that you're sticking with it? Is that kind of the idea that you're thinking? Like, because it's improving so much so fast? Very curious on that. I don't mind the idea of goal time to find your paces. The one thing I caution with that is, if that's not where you're at right now fitness wise, sometimes it can cause you to like reach a little bit. So like, I eventually want to run a 250 marathon or a little bit below that so I can qualify for Boston. But I worry about the paces being too fast. So if I tried to go into a block right now where I was running 250 marathon pace, it would be very difficult for me. I probably couldn't complete all the workouts. So as long as it's like in the general frame of where you're at right now fitness wise, I think that can work. Just be mindful. If it feels like your easy days are harder than they need to be mindful of it. Just, that's all. This is the first week and I really need to swap from Garmin. I don't think Garmin did awesome with my training last year, even though it worked out in the end. Also doing strength more this year. I think the strength is going to be super beneficial as you get to the latter stage of your half and latter stage of your full marathon. Steve Magnus, who's one of my favorite distance coaches and researchers, was talking about this the other day. The later you get into a race and the more fatigue builds up, you lose VO2 max, you lose running economy. Every system that kind of keeps you running, or every metric that you look at, drops in terms of what it can do late stage in a race. But strength training, having that resistance to fatigue, helps you build over a long time. See ya, Al. I hope you have a great day. You're more than welcome. If you have more questions, I will be on next week at 9 on Saturday. So would love to see you back on the channel and learn more about your running and what you're doing and all that. But I hope you have a great day. So James, the strength training I think is going to make a huge difference as you're getting into the late stages of your races. But yeah, the Garmin training has never really been my favorite thing. I wish so much that Coros would add like Apple Pay or Garmin Pay or Google Pay on the watch. And I wish it had the music, not necessarily for me, but for any, like, I don't listen to a ton of music out there, but some people do, and it's a really big turnoff. If Coros had those two features, man, I think they would just eat the market up because their training plans are so good. They're actually free, James. So if you wanted to look at something else that was free, Coros has free training plans for like sub 2 hour half marathon, 5K goals, 10K goals, marathon goals. So like I'm doing a 320. Yeah, I saw it too, James. I don't know why it's happening. I think it's something built into the phone, but I'm not sure how it works. Um, all that to say, I think you could go look at the Koros website, look at their training plans, and pull something off there for free if you wanted to do that. Carl, back to your question. Should you go for the ASICS Superblast or Adidas Evo SL for a soft daily trainer? So they're both relatively soft. The Evo SL is more tuned to go fast. The Superblast is more tuned to be a really nice, solid plush trainer. I'm actually going to grab it real quick. It is in the other room. All right, so Superblast here. This is the ASICS Superblast 3, and you can see this thing is a chunky, funky monster. Now, you sit into about here, so sometimes they'll wrap the foam up around the side to add a little more stability there. Same thing here. This is about where you go down to. They just wrap it up to make it a little more stable of a platform. So it depends on what you want out of the shoe, Carl. The soft daily trainer, Superblast, it's really high stack height. So it's not your, it could be your one shoe, but I would want something that's a little more like daily trainer oriented, like the Mount to Coast R1 or even the Evo SL. Oh, those would be a sick double up actually. If you did the Evo SL and the Superblast, that would be such a good rotation. You get a little more ground feel out of the Evo SL. The Mount to Coast R1 would also pair really well with the Superblast. The Superblast will deaden a lot of that force, so if you ever feel beat up or if you want more cushion underfoot, you just want to look cool, Superblast looks so cool. So heck yeah, it comes out tomorrow, so you could order that now. I think you can do pre-orders. So you know, shoe is phenomenal. I did another 5 miles, 2 of which were at 5K pace. So huge ups. But I would just want something to pair with the Superblast. But cushy daily trainer, man, daily trainer even up to some workout paces. Superblast is phenomenal. James, by chance, did you hear the Barkley Marathon didn't get any finishers this year? Yes, I did. Which is wild. Like when you have John Kelly not finishing a race, just absolutely wild. I think a lot of it came down to the rain. You know, he was talking in an interview where he was saying, when it doesn't matter how fast you are, if every time you step down the ground slips out from under you, you're not going to be able to move up a hill. So yeah, it was earlier in the year this year, and there was a ton of rain. So their footing was terrible, and a bit of the cold, for sure. Yeah, but like John Kelly was trying to go for the all-time record south to northbound Appalachian Trail record. When you have somebody like that DNFing, well, not DNFing. Oh, he didn't finish. Yeah, so DNF. That's bonkers. It goes to show you how crazy the Barkley marathons are. So Laz is out there just making things happen. Anybody have any other questions or anything to throw in the chat? I think the concept of the races are fun, a lot of work. Yeah, actually, I think the concept is really cool, and I think it could be applied really interestingly. And it sounds like it almost kind of is happening. They got a fun run award, not a full DNF. Yeah. Yeah. Fun. I don't know if I would call the Barkley fun. But some races are starting to pop up where it's almost like an open world game, along with some like figuring out how to navigate wherever you're supposed to be going. So it's like a Skyrim video game, or like somebody related it to, I think, World of Warcraft or Dungeons and Dragons or something. I'm not really into that space super, like I don't know much about it. But it's like you have to run, figure out what your quest is, and then you have to run to the next spot, and it's like a little bit of a puzzle, but an open world game. So like you have to collect, I can't remember what the guy said, but you have to collect something similar to the pages that you have to do for the Barclay, but this race is not nearly as aggressive. It's still really long. It's like a 50K, I think this guy was saying. But that the idea of a race like that where you get some adventure out of it, I think could work really, really well as a way to get people interested in and involved in the sport. So like, especially if it wasn't super long, like a 50K, I think that could be really fun. It'd be hard to pull off though, but maybe worth it. I don't know, maybe a business idea. Who out there is going to go ahead and do that? Getting more info and get to see some cool new places too. Yeah, right. Totally agree, James. I think that'd be super sick. Even if there was like a way to do, like, if there was a cool destination like Austin, Texas or something, I could see that being really good there, or like LA or something like that, where you can like see some of the town. Like you have to go to this coffee bar and get a receipt from something, and then go, I don't know, see one of the sites of the town, and then you connect a whole bunch of stuff. I think that'd be a really cool way to get to see a city while also doing like a racecation. I think that could be cool. Thought of doing a backyard marathon is fun too. One loop every hour until there's no one left running. Everything is fine for the first 12 to 15 hours. Then people start breaking down. I don't think a backyard sounds fun at all, personally. It's just not. It turns more into a sleep deprivation thing to me. I'm not interested in missing my sleep. So I'm doing my first ultra marathon this year, and I just don't want to go past like 100K. So it'll be a 50K this year. I'll probably do 100K at some point. I don't want to do a 100-mile race where I'm staying up for 24 or 30 hours straight. That sounds terrible. So I don't think I'll ever go that far. I could see doing 100K and wanting to get that time faster because I like the endurance and I like the grind and grit of stuff. But backyards don't sound fun because after 18 hours, it's time for me to go to bed anyhow. Need to come to a race in the U.S. Carl, you absolutely should. If you ever are on the East Coast, you've got a place to stay. I think that would actually be super fun if we could set it up. What it is in Boulder, the Taco Bell Marathon. There's a guy he's the other manager at our Black Mountain location of Mountain Running Company. He is doing the Taco Bell 50K. So he's been practicing, he's been doing his long runs, but he's been getting Taco Bell and like putting it in his waist belt and eating it while he's running so he can get his stomach used to it. And this guy's really fast. I would love to see what he can do if he's out. I want to see what he does. I think we looked it up, in the winner of the first one, not the first one, but last year was like 4.5 hours or maybe 5 hours, and including the stops. That is so blazing fast for 31 miles. I think it'll be really cool to see what he does. But there's one in Colorado, there's one in, I think, DC, and then maybe a third. But yeah, I saw that. That looks really fun. That's the kind of adventure running that I think would be really fun in a more urban area. All the coffee's done for the day, sadly. But we had a good go of it. Anybody else have anything I can answer last minute here? Would love to chat anything else that you've got, but if you don't have anything, one of the major time issues was that Taco Bell wasn't prepared. Yeah, so they're letting you order ahead this year. So you should be able to pick it up and go. And I think there was more communication after they realized that it wasn't like super well organized, and that I just don't think the Taco Bells were like prepared to do that. The people there had to have been so mad. Like, what are all these runners doing here? Why are they only getting 2 items, and why are they all like huffing and puffing? Anybody has anything else, feel free to toss it in there. If not, I've got no qualms wrapping up for the day. What are your thoughts on compression boots, like the inflating ones? Yeah, just picked up a pair on Marketplace. I think that's the way to do it if you're going to. I don't think there's any real reason to go buy a $700 pair of them. So I like them. They're going to do similar... They're going to promote blood flow. That's what all of these different things are going to do. So whether it's scraping, which has a couple of other benefits to it, but like scraping, doing a contrast bath, so warm water, cold water, doing compression socks, all of them, elevating your legs, all of those things are going to help flush the crud that's in your legs out. So like we have cells that get damaged and then we have to repair them. We repair them by getting resources to them and getting the waste out. So it'll go to a couple of different spots, and then we'll eventually pass the bad byproducts that we don't need anymore and things we can't use as building blocks. So compression boots are cool in the way that they do it. So it compresses down on your leg. That's going to push blood out. So it's going to push blood up towards the heart, towards the traffic that can get it to its correct destination. Then it relaxes. When it relaxes, there's kind of a gradient that occurs where it's like, oh yeah, let's throw a bunch of blood back there and push new blood, new resources to those spots. So it pushes it out. It squeezes it, it pushes blood to the heart, it opens up, we push blood back down. So it just helps circulate blood and flush out some of the crud that's in the legs. Not an end-all be-all, but I do really like them. Never really done too much for recovery other than just sitting down hoping this will do some good work. Yeah, I think it's one part of a big puzzle. I think compression boots, I like red light, I like contrast bath, I like ice baths in a totally separate arena. I like ice baths for like early in the morning. You get a lot of good benefits from it while not impeding like muscle protein synthesis. So if you do a really hard workout and then do an ice bath, you're actually going to slow down recovery a little bit. So I like ice bath early in the morning. I love sauna or like hot tub-ing. You get a ton of good benefits from heat exposure. So you can, there's actually a really cool one. There's a, I don't know if he's a PhD, but he talks to a lot of PhD folks who are out doing research in the field. And one of the guys that he was talking to had elite runners in, I can't remember where geographically it was. I want to say it was somewhere in Africa. Hopefully I'm not misquoting that. But they went and did their workouts, and then after they did like 45 minutes in a hot tub, I think. Maybe it was 20. I don't want to misquote it. So like they spent time in a hot tub. I think it was 5 days a week, and they saw an increase in oxygen uptake. They saw an increase in blood plasma levels. So a bunch of really cool things from heat exposure. Could see enjoying ice bath, definitely sauna. Looked at a few sauna options at Sam's Club, but couldn't. Man, they're so expensive. I know what you're saying. There's one that's like $800. That's a one person that doesn't look very pretty, but it is a real sauna. It's not infrared. For saunas, I want it to be able to go above, like at or above 180 degrees Fahrenheit. If it doesn't do that, I'm kind of like 50-50 on how I feel about it. So like I like red light. I just don't want that to be the way I'm saunaing. But it's like $700. If I had more cash available, I would totally do one, but I don't. So it is what it is. Give the camera a thumbs up and make that think that makes that think show up. Thing show up. Or do jazz hands and maybe that's fireworks? Maybe? Thumbs up. Let's see what this does. I do thumbs up somewhat often, so maybe? I wonder if that's going to do it. And then we'll do jazz hands right here. I wonder. Is that going to do anything? That's totally it. Good look, James. I wonder if the jazz hands is going to do the fireworks now. Because I'm looking over here. No? No fireworks? Hands up to the sides, all around. Pieces, maybe? Does peace do anything? I wonder if any of that does anything. We'll see. Nope. No, seems like none of this does anything. Weird. Got to figure out the gestures. I don't know what the other things do. I don't have a clue. I do not know. This has been an awesome stream, guys. This has been one of the more fun ones. It's good to have new folks in the chat. This is really cool. I really hope we can keep building this up. Hope it's an Easter egg hunt for things now. Yeah, I think that'd be fun to keep working on. And I don't know. I can probably just Google it. What are the hand gestures that do different things? And then I can then randomly throw fireworks whenever I want. Feel like a wizard. If you guys have anybody that you think would benefit from the live streams, feel free to have them come by. I would love to answer questions. Like, even if somebody's silently sitting in the chat, I would love to have them in and help them just kind of slowly absorb information. I think hearing things time and time again is really helpful. But yeah, James, it was a really good time. I don't know if you guys can tell, I have a fantastic time with this. I hope you guys get some value out of it and like chatting together. But I think with that said, I'll end it for today. I will see you guys next Saturday at 9. If I don't have a I'll have a video out probably on Wednesday. So I'll look forward to seeing you guys then. Have a great day.